Welcome back. This is the final podcast for the Nutrition and Digestion unit for AP Bio. We're going to talk about some of the evolutionary adaptations of the digestive system, beginning with dentition. Dentition is the assortment of teeth in an animal's mouth. An example could be fangs in a snake that are modified teeth for injecting venom. Another evolutionary adaptation is the large expandable stomachs in carnivores. A 200-kilogram lion could hold 40 grams of food. That means that if you weighed 100 pounds, you would be able to store 20 pounds of food in your stomach, which you cannot. So these large carnivores that don't eat as often have the capability of storing large amounts of food. There are certain herbivores and omnivores that have longer GI tracts or alimentary canals than other animals. The length of the alimentary tract is relative to their body size. The reason for this is because plants are harder to digest than meat, and it needs to take a lot longer, hence the longer digestive tract for slower digestion. Herbivores get a lot of their chemical energy from cellulose, but animals don't produce enzymes that hydrolyze cellulose. Many animals have symbiotic relationships with bacteria and protists that produce these enzymes. The bacteria and protists are stored in special fermentation chambers. These microorganisms also use sugars from broken down cellulose to make nutrients for the animals, oftentimes things like vitamins and amino acids. Horses have a symbiotic microorganism in their cecum. Another example of this are ruminants, and the cow is a classic example of a ruminant. They have a 4-chambered stomach. Other animals like deer and sheep are ruminants also. The first chamber is the rumen. The bolus or food ball enters the rumen. The second chamber is the reticulum. This is where the symbiotic microorganisms live. Once the bolus is mixed with these organisms in the reticulum, the bolus is actually brought back up into the cow's mouth where it chews it. This is the cud. The third compartment is the omasum. Once the cow re-swallows the cud, water is removed in the omasum. And the fourth chamber, the abomasum, is where the microorganisms are digested by the cow's own enzymes. A nutritionally adequate diet satisfies 3 needs: fuel, which is the chemical energy for cellular work; organic raw materials used for biosynthesis. Carbon skeletons are needed to make their own molecules, so an animal will eat raw materials, use the carbon to create its own organic molecules. And essential nutrients. This is what the animal cannot make itself. When an animal takes in more calories than it needs, the excess can be used for biosynthesis. We store extra energy in the liver and muscle cells in the form of glycogen. After these are taken in, then first it's taken from the liver, the glycogen stores in the liver, then it's taken from the muscle, and finally it's taken from the fat. One of the reasons why fat is so hard to burn, because it is the last place our body goes for stored energy, and fat contains twice as many calories per gram as carbohydrates. It actually takes twice as long to burn. Most people have enough stored fat for several weeks of starvation. An average human energy needs can be fueled by 0.3 kilograms of fat per day, which is equal to about 2/3 of a pound. Severe problems can occur if the energy budget remains out of balance for long periods of time. Undernourishment is when the diet is chronically deficient in calories. Stores of glycogen and fat are all used up, and the body begins breaking down protein for fuel. Muscle size decreases, the brain becomes protein deficient. If energy intake remains lower than energy expenditure, even if a severely undernourished person survives, oftentimes the damage that was done is permanent. Overnourishment is excessive food intake. Obesity. The human body is excellent at hoarding fat. Obesity is when the human body seems to impose limits on weight gain and loss. Most people reach a maximum weight no matter how much they eat. Complex feedback mechanisms in use. In mammals, a hormone called leptin is produced by adipose cells. High adipose tissue, in other words, a lot of adipose tissue, produces high levels of leptin in the blood. Those high levels of leptin signal the brain to depress appetite and increase energy-consuming muscular activity and body heat production, one of the reasons why overweight people sweat so much. If you have a low amount of body fat, you have low levels of leptin. Lower levels of leptin increase appetite and weight gain. These feedback mechanisms regulate body weight around a fairly rigid set point in some people and around a much wider range in others. An animal's diet must supply essential nutrients and carbon skeletons for biosynthesis. Essential nutrients are materials that must be obtained in pre-assembled form because the animal cells can't make them from any raw materials. For example, vitamin C, or ascorbic acid, is an essential nutrient for humans, primates, guinea pigs, birds, and snakes, but not other animals. If you have a guinea pig, you have to buy its special guinea pig food that contains vitamin C, because if you give it rabbit food that doesn't contain vitamin C, the guinea pig can get very sick. Malnourishment is when a diet is missing one or more essential nutrients. There are 4 types of essential nutrients. The first one is essential amino acids. Out of the 20 amino acids, humans can make 12, but 8 are essential. Again, they have to consume them in their pure form. A diet lacking in all 8 causes protein deficiency, which is the most common form of malnutrition. This type of protein deficiency can retard physical and mental development, especially in children. The source of essential amino acids are cheeses and other animal products. The bottom line is animal protein is important in our diet, and if you are a vegan and don't consume any animal protein, you have to be very careful to make sure that you get the essential amino acids from another source. Animal proteins are complete. In other words, they contain all of the essential amino acids. Plant proteins, therefore, are incomplete. Essential fatty acids. These are certain unsaturated fatty acids. Remember, the unsaturated fatty acids have double bonds. An example is linoleic acid in humans, and it's used to make the phospholipids in membranes, cell membranes, plasma membranes. Deficiencies in this are very rare because that's abundant in our food. Vitamin deficiencies are organic molecules in small amounts. Vitamins are usually used to make things like coenzymes. Vitamin deficiencies can cause severe problems. There are 13 essential vitamins. We also divide vitamins into water-soluble and fat-soluble. Water-soluble, you oftentimes can consume larger amounts of allowance, and because fat-soluble vitamins deposit in the fat, these are much more dangerous and higher doses because they're stored in the fat instead of being eliminated in the urine. And if they build up in the fat, it can become toxic and cause severe health problems. The other nutrient are minerals. Minerals are simple, inorganic nutrients versus vitamins, which are organic, and these are also required in small amounts. This is a list of the minerals required by humans. And again, many of these can be toxic if they build up in large amounts. Some examples of diseases that are caused by deficiencies: scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency, rickets is a vitamin D deficiency, and angina is a potassium deficiency. Let's talk about food energy. When we look at how we consume energy in food, we look at calories. Although what's really on a food label is a kilocalorie. It's abbreviated with a capital C. This is equal to 1,000 calories because a calorie is a very small amount. A calorie is the amount of heat it takes to raise 1 gram of water 1 degree centigrade. And again, it is a measure of energy in the food that you're eating. BMR is basal metabolic rate. This is the number of kilocalories a resting animal needs to fuel its essential processes, things like heartbeat, temperature. The basal metabolic rate for adults ranges anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 kilocalories. Healthy women have a 20 to 25% of their body weight in fat, and healthy men have 15 to 19% of their body weight in fat. A diet with a lot of saturated animal fat is linked to high blood cholesterol levels. LDLs are low-density lipoproteins. These are considered bad cholesterol. The lipoproteins are particles of cholesterol and other lipids. HDLs are high-density lipoproteins. They convey blood cholesterol to the liver where it is broken down. So these are considered good cholesterol. Eating unsaturated fats like fish oils and vegetable oils raise your HDLs.